Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Spectre Approved podcast, a podcast where two gamers play a game where, surprise, surprise, colonialism ends up badly. I'm your host, Adam Forrester, and I'm joined once again by Fenris.
That's me.
How you going?
Work's been pretty busy.
Yeah. We are out of sync with our normal recording schedule once again because of me, but thank you for being able to join this morning.
No problem.
A little bit earlier than normal, which is always good. But we played a game these past couple of weeks. Well, you finished it yesterday, was it?
A couple days ago.
2 or 3 days, yeah. And a game that I finished ages ago.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I actually took notes for a change. We played Greedfall, which is interesting in the news lately because, well, unfortunately, it's not a common occurrence that it's studio Spiders and I think Focus to some extent, which is the publisher, will probably be shutting its doors if they haven't already. I haven't really kept up with the news.
Yeah,
in regards to that.
It's basically just corporate greed. Spiders got bought up by something like Microsoft and the parent company.
I think it was Frogwares.
Yeah, that's it.
Because we've covered a couple of other games there. Yeah.
The parent company, Frogwares or something, they just bought up a whole bunch of stuff and they couldn't really afford all this things they bought, just like Microsoft does, and then pretty soon, studios got to close up.
Yeah. But Greedfall, which was developed by French studio Spiders, published by Focus Home Interactive, an ambitious studio, I'd have to say, looking at their back catalogue. Greedfall released in September 2019. The game sought to combine classic Western RPG design with a unique setting inspired by 17th century Europe, colonialism, and fantasy literature. The title became one of Spider's most successful games and helped establish the studio as one of Europe's notable AA RPG developers, which makes it even more sad how they kind of went 7 years later.
Yeah.
So work on Greedfall began shortly after the release of The Technomancer, which was like their sci-fi RPG iteration that came out in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Spiders wanted to move away from science fiction and create a fantasy universe that drew inspiration from the Baroque era, European colonial expansion and folklore, rather than the medieval settings commonly found in role-playing games. Creative director and writer Gian Russo cited 17th century art, costumes, politics as major influences on the game's world design. The development team aimed to create what Russo described as a classic BioWare-style RPG, taking inspiration from games such as Dragon Age Origins, Knights of the Old Republic, and Mass Effect. I definitely noticed that throughout.
Same.
Players would form relationships with companions, make meaningful dialogue choices, and navigate conflicts between competing factions. Unlike many fantasy games, the team wanted the central theme to focus on colonization, cultural clashes, diplomacy, and the consequences of imperial expansion. Budget limitations heavily influenced the project. Spiders remained a relatively small studio with roughly 30 to 40 developers during the production, forcing the team to prioritize narrative depth and quest design over large-scale open-world systems. That was also very evident, I found as I played through. This led to a segmented world structure found in the final game, which allowed developers to create detailed environments without requiring the resources of major AAA production. Despite these constraints, Greedfall featured extensive voice acting, companion quests, multiple endings, and numerous player choices. The game's visual direction emphasized the elaborate Baroque design, fashion, ornate architecture, and natural landscapes inspired by the Age of Discovery of the 17th century. The island of Tia Fredi combined European influence with indigenous cultures and magical elements, creating a distinctive identity that separated the title from the traditional fantasy RPGs of the time. Definitely better than it's Arcana 4, which was another similar one at the time. Terrible AA RPG. Key development stuff. We had creative director and writer Jahan Russo, whose other notable works were Spider's projects Mars Warlogs, The Technomancer, and Steel Rising. Lead designer Romain Meyer, who worked on The Technomancer and Steel Rising. Lead programmer Wilfried Mallet, who worked on multiple Spiders titles. Art director was Cyril Tamabase, who worked on Bound by Flame and The Technomancer. And the composer, Olivier Deriviere, who worked on A Plague Tale Innocence, Remember Me, Assassin's Creed 4 Freedom Cry, and Dying Light 2.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So Deriviere's soundtrack received particular praise for use of traditional instruments and Celtic-inspired themes, helping establish the mystical atmosphere of Tia Fredi. So Greedfall launched on September 10, 2019 for Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. The game was later enhanced for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S on June 30, 2021. I believe it also came with the Gold Edition. Like, that's what the Gold Edition was. Because it also saw the release of the De Vespe Conspiracy expansion.
Yeah.
The game performed strongly for a AA release and quickly became Spider's biggest commercial success, helping justify the development of a prequel, Greedfall 2, The Dying World. Critics generally praised Greedfall for its world-building, quest design, and ambitious scope, whilst criticizing aspects such as repetitive environments, stiff animations, and occasionally simplistic combat systems. There was also quite a few technical difficulties on the PC. Many reviewers note that the game successfully captured the spirit of classic BioWare RPG for a smaller budget. Across the different publications, for Metacritic, the PC version had a 72 out of 100, OpenCritic 75 out of 100, IGN 8.2 out of 10, PC Gamer 67 out of 100, and the Daily Star gave it a 4 out of 5, as well as RPG Site awarding it an 8 out of 10.
Good reviews all around.
Although Greedfall did not secure any major international awards, it earned several notable nominations within Europe that recognized its strength in RPG design. So for the 2019 Titanium Awards, it was nominated for Best RPG. The Navigator Awards, it was nominated for Game of the Year, Original Role Playing. And for the Pegasus Awards, it was nominated for Best Message in a Game, Best Artistic Design, and Best Game Setting.
Okay.
So Greedfall stands as the culmination of Spider's gradual evolution from a small and independent developer into one of Europe's most respected AA RPG studios. They learned from lessons from their earlier projects, such as Mars Warlogs, Bound by Flame, and The Technomancer, and led them to, I think, 3 million copies within the first year. Which obviously gave them the funding for Greedfall 2. However, they have been defined as the modern example of Eurojank RPGs, which, yeah, I agree with. So first impressions and kind of what led you to this game. Well, I picked it for the podcast. That's what led you to it. But like, were you aware of this game at the time? Had you played it previously?
No, the name had come across a couple feeds of mine, but I was wholly unaware of it until you picked it for the podcast. And Honestly, my first impression was not very good. I started the game on normal difficulty and I chose the wrong class, and the combat really kicked my ass for the first hour and a half or so, and it just left a sour taste in my
Yep.
mouth.
Yeah, because you went magic as
Ye-
the your initial like tree
I
pick.
I
Yep.
did, yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, magic's not the recommended playstyle for first timers for a first playthrough. Um, as for myself, I picked this for the show because it's a game that I believe I heard about it. Uh, E3 2017. It had been on the radar because around that time, my play cycle of games had basically been Dragon Age, Mass Effect, and Assassin's Creed. So anything new in that kind of space, like I was all for. I think 2019. So I probably would have just gotten an Xbox One because I was really late to that generation. So I was looking for games to kind of like break in the hardware. Um, like I had Mass Effect Andromeda and a few other games as like my first kind of ones. So I pre-ordered this digitally and played it for a little bit. Got up to Tia Fridia and then dropped it shortly after meeting the native companion for the first time.
Siora,
Um,
I think.
can't remember why. Might have just been the jankiness. Might have just had other stuff on my plate. Um, and then I've tried to go back to it numerous times, but there's just always been something that's kind of been in the way to me finishing it. I have like go listen to the Sinking City episode to hear like my relationship with spiders, frogware, and focus. I've played a few of their games. I tried the Technomancer after getting this, and had a similar experience of getting killed. It might have just been the combat difficulty. Um, I got killed very early on in Technomancer, which was also a barrier going into that game. Um, However, my first impression this time, because I'd started it so many times, I breezed through the prologue and like chapter one, I guess, of the game, and had a much better experience. Knew what some, I guess, crucial skills going forward were, and kind of what path I wanted to take with my character creation and who I wanted in my party. So a much more streamlined experience for myself.
Very nice.
Yeah. Um, what did you play this on? Did you finish the game? And what was your total playtime?
I played it on Steam, on the
Mm-hmm.
PC, and my total playtime was like 30 hours, but there were a couple of those hours where I was AFK, so probably about 28 or 30 hours or so.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I also played this on Steam. After the second chapter, I used a walkthrough because I wanted to 100% this game, and which I ended up doing.
Very
You
nice.
can do it in one playthrough with saves, and my Steam isn't going to be correct with my play hours because I played it when I didn't have internet. I think it ended up being about 42 hours to 100% it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, not a whole lot more than what I
Yeah.
took to beat it.
So setting, and overall, I guess, world. Like I said in the intro, we will give a spoiler warning. There is a story associated with this game, and there are twists and turns in that story, multiple endings, multiple factions, companions that you can romance. So I'm just going to give an overall spoiler warning up front. Look, it wasn't big twists like some things I saw coming from the start. Um, so basically, you play um, a a noble of uh, the merchant congregation, Desade. Your cousin and yourself and your bodyguard. Um, you've grown up in nobility over on the mainland, and you guys have been tasked to go over and your cousin in particular to be the governor of Tia Fredia, a new island that your mainland is looking to, I guess, establish trade with, potentially colonize and take over. At the end of the day, there's a bunch of other factions that are also on the island as well, all vying for the different resources. Look, it starts off. It's basically Pocahontas, like
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. And but it's a bit more serious than that.
yeah,
And
yep.
it's just there's
Um,
there's a pretty good cast with this game.
I I liked I quite liked Desade. You can customize your character when you start. It's not super in depth, but I feel like it was pretty good. However, one aspect of Desade that you can't change is a visual scar on their neck and face, which is their interaction with something called Malachor, which is a disease that your characters had since birth or early childhood. Um,
Something like that. Yeah, I think
yeah.
it's it basically looks like just a spiky
Mm.
birthmark.
Oh, sorry, I forgot another main reason that you specifically are going over to the island because you want to find a cure for this
Yeah.
Malachor disease for your mother.
Mhm.
But that plot line gets dropped pretty quick, which is why I forgot about it. So you head over to the island. Your cousin Constantine gets established as governor, and then you have to kind of work with all the different factions on the island, including the natives, to try and find peace, and a bunch of stuff ensues from there.
Yeah, I didn't really mess with the factions too much.
Before you get, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that I didn't really,
Yep.
yeah, I didn't really mess with the factions too much, but it's all a bunch of like fetch quest kind of stuff to make everyone
Yep.
happy.
Um, which overall I normally like. However, I found that like the main quest line anyway was
Long.
quite branching, and at times I didn't know what to do. And if I didn't have a walkthrough, I would have gotten very lost very quick.
I get that.
Because in one of my playthroughs I did, I think I actually locked myself out of a character
Oh
by
no.
going to a city too early and having a bad interaction with a certain character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um I I kind of liked how there
Mm.
was a lot of variety with the characters in your party because you had like what 5 different party members or something like that and each one of them came from one of the factions that you have to juggle and you had to keep everyone happy and you had to keep all the factions happy and yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it plays off the typical Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic kind of thing, where you have uh, character and Dragon Age, I guess, where you've got characters from each, like, yeah, each faction that you come across, and that kind of. I thought that was done quite well because normally what can go wrong with these is that they're loyal to you to a fault without when they've like just come to you from this faction. Knights of the Old Republic 2 is quite bad for it, like where your characters are loyal to you to a fault, and that kind of conflicts with their faction. Whereas I felt these characters, it was the opposite, where you really had to tread carefully, because people were there for their own reasons and their own priorities, and helping you with the congregation of merchants was the secondary.
Yeah, and Desarde is a legate of the Congregate of Merchants, and you pretty much just go around making everyone happy.
Yep.
And you meet these really interesting characters that really add a lot of depth to the areas. of this game, and each faction is not all. Yeah, they're not all good.
You didn't have a romance for this?
No, no. While I liked all of the characters individually, I didn't find any of them romanceable.
Yep, fair. Um, I can talk about my romance because I'm pretty sure every character apart from, or every party member apart from one is romanceable. I romanced the Nort, the seafaring nation captain. Uh,
Vasco?
Gay romance, which is what I like to do in video games because straight romances are normally pretty boring. Um,
Yeah.
this one was, yeah, it was okay. It wasn't anything flash. Definitely not up to BioWare standard, but because, well, even their romances aren't great sometimes. But it wasn't egregious or like tropey or anything like that. It was just nice. They built a bond of friendship that moved into a romance. So just back to the combat. So you started off as magic. What was your main problem, I guess, in the realm of using magic?
It wasn't just using magic, it was just the fact that, like, there's something about the combat that
Yep.
I didn't really get on with. Like, it just, nothing really clicked for me. And that was throughout the entire game, and there's so much stuff to
Mm-hmm.
this. And it's just, it's not that I liked, I didn't understand the combat, and I didn't really, and I just, there is something, and I know I'm repeating myself ad nauseum, but it never clicked with me. And then I went to switch from normal mode to story mode to see if it would make it easier,
Yeah.
and it did. And then I changed everything over to guns because I saw a guide that would make it easier, and it kind of did.
Yep, that's fair. Um, yeah, I don't know what it is either, but even doing a melee character, don't know, just something like it had all the ingredients for good combat. Like for melee in particular, you've got your dodge, you've got your block, you've got your varying weapon types, which give you variety in terms of power. And as you like increase or as you find more weapons, like they have elemental abilities attached to them, so you can inflict burn, you can inflict poison, you can inflict lightning damage, which like slows opponents. All the bits are there for it to be good, but it just wasn't. Um,
And it's not even that the combat wasn't good. I didn't understand it because they throw so much stuff at you, and it's like, because there are three main trees. You've got your tech abilities, you've got your warrior abilities, and you have your magic. And with each of these abilities, you have skill points that you can use.
mm-hmm,
And but they only give you like 4 or 5 skill points uh, for every starting uh, skill tree that you start off with. And then with all of that, you also have like ability points. And with your ability points also comes a whole different thing. And
mm-hmm.
I don't even remember how long per level do you get skill points?
Every 3 levels.
Something like that, yeah. And it's like I had way too many skill points because by the end of the game,
Mm-hmm.
I was like level 30, and like I was finding myself not using skill points because I had already maxed out
Yep.
everything that I wanted to, and I was just
Yeah.
filling out the rest of the skill map because, and you also had attributes and talent points to spend.
Yeah.
And with those attributes, you had strength, endurance, agility, accuracy, mental power, willpower. And with your talents, you had charisma, science, lockpicking, intuition, craftsmanship, and the game doesn't really tell you anything.
Oh no, 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 no. Because there's like when you walk off the dock at Teofridia, it the game expresses that you should go through the codex and stuff like that. But that's the only real hint you get. Because you've also got the rage system, which I didn't even know about for ages. Like it tells you about it in the tutorial with Kurt, but back on the mainland. But apart from that, like I barely ever used it.
Yeah, and the rage system was interesting because it was basically just a bigger attack. I noticed whenever I was using it for my magic stuff, it used up like more MP. Um, and then whenever I switched to guns, it I barely ever used it because everything was just dying so easily.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, I went and switched to guns because it was just a lot easier. And as I said before, you only had like 4 skill points to use for each tree.
Yeah. Um, that part I didn't really like because whilst like I enjoyed guns, the fact I couldn't like get a musket. Sorry.
Well, yeah, the muskets and the rifles came in right there at the end. It was the last skill point that you could unlock. Um, which they obviously deal a lot more damage than pistols, so uh, they're better.
Yeah.
And you start off with a whole bunch of skills on this
Yeah,
on
yeah. So the big circular skill tree.
yeah,
Um,
that thing. And you can pick one of 3 skill trees to choose from. And as I said before, I ended up going with guns because they seem to be a lot easier. And I actually found a pretty good blunderbuss relatively
yeah.
soon. Yeah.
Yeah, blunderbuss was the way to go.
Yeah, and yeah, it was strong, but I it felt kind of like a shotgun because blunderbusses are kind of like that. But
Yep.
let's talk about talents real quick.
So these I really liked, because they really fed into, I guess, the creative way that you could complete missions. Because it kind of takes from the Deus Ex book of RPGs here. The fact that you can use different, I guess, abilities to achieve completion in levels. So, for example, an early quest is infiltrating the warehouses of the Nauts, who are the seafaring faction, because someone's doing some dodgy dealings and your captain has been stripped of his rank by helping you, and you're trying to help him achieve that rank back with the Nauts. So, uh, to uncover some like dodgy dealings that they're doing, you have to enter a warehouse, and you can do this in a variety of ways. You can do it via stealth, you can go forward and kill everyone in the warehouse, or you can you can use subterfuge. So things like your charisma, obviously that gives you more conversation options. Lock picking means you can pick locks easier, but it things like vigor is something I really enjoy because it allows you to be more skillful and more acrobatic, I guess, because it, like, for example, if you have your vigor up to level 1 or 2, then you can actually like jump across rooftops to to enter the warehouse that way.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, 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 the at the talents mean that you can complete missions in a variety of ways.
Yeah, and I mainly just did um a couple levels of charisma,
Yep.
a couple levels of science. I did, I think, 1 level of intuition. I did 3 levels of craftsmanship, and I didn't touch vigor at all. And then that's not even really to say that that's all of it, because you had a whole bunch of gear too. And with
Mm.
with that gear, um, they raised a whole bunch of different stats for whatever class or skill tree that you decided to go into, whether it would be like fury generation or armor damage or physical damage
Yep.
or like MP regeneration.
Yeah, and just to roll back on the equipment just quickly, because you had a variety of like cosmetics when we're looking at like your non-weapon equipment. So you've got necklaces, you've got headdress, you've got upper lower body clothing, you've got boots, all that sort of stuff. But in particular, if you're doing a faction quest, something I really enjoyed is if you wore clothing of that faction, it would like help you blend in or like help you remove a gate to I guess dealing with that faction, and also increased the amount of favor you would then gain with that faction once the quest was completed. Um, so I found that I had like a rotational set of outfits that, depending on which faction I was dealing with or which city I was going to, my character would dress and like assimilate with that faction, which kind of feeds into the colonization narrative, because when we look at diplomats and when we look at like missionaries and things like that, those types of individuals, when they're dealing with someone from a different culture, might try to assimilate and might try to like show favor, show knowledge in that kind of area by like donning the preferred dress. So, for example, if the natives had like a dress that you use when communicating, or when going into peaceful negotiations as opposed to wartime and battle dress kind of thing. I can definitely see where the developers were going with that kind of sense, and yeah, that was something that I really enjoyed.
And even then, the way the gear was set up was actually really cool
Yep.
because they all looked very different. Whether you had like the natives who looked like, like indigenous tribes, garb, the the knots looked like seafaring men. You had they all looked very different. And something to note that I found out right there at the end was there was just each piece of chest gear had a little symbol
Yeah.
on the end of them, and or not on the end, but in whatever stat block you had, and they basically just showed what faction they belonged to.
Yep. Yeah, that was something where the game just said, "Oh, this is just something that you had to learn." I think because I had played the game numerous times before, I kind of had an inkling. So like with the factions themselves, so I guess we can do a brief overview of each faction. Like you said, congregation of merchants, which is what Desade is from. Um, they're just like general royalist upper class clothing, like noble clothing, I guess, to describe it. And then you've got the natives, which is obviously and I don't want to sound racist saying this, but they're based on Native Americans, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, my knowledge in that area is a bit lacking, but yeah, they had, I guess, traditional garbs of that sense, like being forestry, using lots of feathers, using uh, face paint. I like how the hats were essentially just face paint for that faction. Um, that was cool. Um, and then you've got the Bridge Alliance, which is like alchemists, for want of a better word. I think they actually do call themselves alchemists. So they're like the science faction. They have a lot of Eastern, Middle Eastern people in their faction. A lot of Indians and of that area. Um, and their garb is like, yeah, they're sciencey, so they look like general alchemists and scientists. And then you've got the Lame, who are the Catholic Church. You've got the Inquisitors with their very is it the Amish who have like those really
The smocks.
square hats?
Oh no,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
um So I didn't like wearing their garb at all. It was very bland and boring, I found. Some of the Inquisition armor looked pretty cool, but
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and then you've got, is that everyone? No, the Nords, who are the naval people. So that's all like, yeah, naval garb of what you'd expect to see. Lots of blues, lots of browns. The captain's seafaring hats, what are they called?
Tricorns.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. I'm like, my mind is just failing me with all these very cool hats there. And I think is that every faction? I think I covered them all.
And I'd like to touch on the crafting system a little bit. It was simple, and it I was expecting more of a crafting system,
Hmm.
but we didn't really get
Yeah.
that. And because it was more of like a socket system where the closest thing I can think of right now is uh, Final Fantasy and putting materia into gear to give it upgrades. Yeah, so
Yeah, that's okay.
it was a fairly simple system, and I wouldn't even really call it a crafting system. It was more of an upgrade
Yeah.
system.
Upgrade. Yeah.
And they had different tiers for the different things that you could upgrade, and there was
Yep.
a whole bunch of uh, items that you could collect, and then you would take those items and basically upcraft them into like sword hilts and gun barrels and stuff like that to make a found item a lot better. What did you think about the crafting system?
I enjoyed the fact that it was simple. I enjoyed the fact that they gave very clear indication about like rarity level of the upgrade or the part that you are adding to your weapon. Um, I didn't really use it on like I jump between story and normal for my difficulty also, and I found just picking up weapons from chests or enemies got me by, or the shot or the camp in between that you visit in between your location points. It
Yeah.
always had enough stock to kind of keep me going.
Yeah, I always forgot that there was a vendor there at the camp, and and the junk system.
Hmm.
Yeah, the let's I always forgot that there was junk to be found for or rather collected from all the bosses, and whenever I'd be exploring, I wouldn't be able to sprint or run because I'd be completely over encumbered by everything,
Yep.
and and it was all this junk that I'd collected.
Yep.
Uh, I would always forget to sell it, and it would always just sit there in my inventory until I found it, the sub tab in the vendor.
I got what you meant.
Yeah,
Yeah, I forget if there was a like sell all junk, sell all valuables button at the merchants. I don't believe there was.
I don't believe that there was,
Hmm.
but I also have the best memory in the world, so take that with a grain of salt. You
Let's
wanna?
talk. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say if you wanted to go ahead and get started on like bugs and stuff.
Not. I think the gold edition, because that's what I played this time around. Improved a lot of stuff at launch. Far out, man. Like, and this is on a base Xbox One. Um, clipping, glitching through the map, um, glitching onto enemies, or how do I describe it? So like I'd dodge, but I'd dodge, and then my character would freeze, but the enemy would do continuous attack damage. So like glitching onto like an enemy hitbox, for want of a better word, like I'd roll and it would roll into the enemy and their constant, like it would like glitch into a constant enemy attack and I'd just die.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, getting stuck on terrain, like because I try and be funky and try and climb up stuff I probably shouldn't.
This is not Skyrim.
But nothing this go around. No crashing. The game ran pretty smooth if it wasn't to the highest quality overall on PC.
Yeah, I had a couple issues.
Mm.
My followers kept getting
Ugh,
stuck,
yuck.
and it was annoying because I'd have to follow them, and they would just get stuck on a rock or something.
Did you have any weird facial animations in like cutscenes or conversation scenes?
I don't think I did. I did have a couple of weird clipping issues,
Oh yeah, you sent me the screenshot.
and like there towards the end when I was doing the final volcano run quest, it there some character weapons were like affixed to their hands, and it was just weird to see in the cutscene.
Yep. I also had some weird clothing things go on depending what I was wearing. And I believe you sent me a screenshot as well of something that happened for you early game. I'm just trying to find it. But like in cutscenes, like a hat would be weird looking. Like it'd be halfway through my head, but it was nothing major.
And there was something else that happened. It wasn't a glitch or
Mm-hmm.
anything, but the dialogue of this game is not very good. And the only thing that really comes to mind, and it's the thing I think I sent you, was there was a quest that I had to do for the Knots, and I knew I was going to be dealing with that faction, so I had
Vasco.
yeah, with me. And there was a part where I had to sneak into some building or something that was being guarded by two knots. And it was kind of funny because they were like, oh, well, you can't enter here because you're not one of us. And then Vasco spoke up and was like, hey, like, I'm the captain of a ship. And one of the guards was like, oh, sorry, Captain. I didn't see your facial ink. And I sent you that screenshot of Vasco just full faced of ink. Yeah, so that one was pretty funny. I had a good laugh at that.
Yep. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so needless to say, the dialogue in this game was not very good. And that's in all aspects because with the amount of combat in this game, hearing everyone say the same two lines over and over and over again, it got really tiring.
Yeah.
And I just
Yep.
almost muted it.
So yeah, a few things that are just like the dialogue wasn't super well written, but
No. And and again, it really doesn't help because I had for the majority of my playthrough I had Kurt and the native chick, what's her name?
Ciora. Yep.
That's it. And and she always said something, in the native tongue, and that's what she always opened up with, and
Yeah.
it got old really quickly. But the game had some pretty good quality of life features, I would say.
Yeah, I agree. You had the save anywhere feature. You could also save at camps. And I think it was quite forgiving in terms of cutscenes, in terms of checkpoints.
Yeah, and that's something I want to talk about. Speaking of the campsites,
Mm.
um, the quick travel feature, I was not at all a fan of this game's quick travel or fast travel.
Yep.
Strictly because you could do it in between campsites if you unlocked them all, and if not, you had to do a lot of running. And it's like it doesn't make any sense to me because this game uses time basically. So each fast travel takes
Yep.
uh, a certain amount of hours to get from point A to point B, and it doesn't make sense to be able to not fast travel from anywhere because if you're using a timed system like that, you should be able to just fast travel from anywhere if you need to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, yeah, I also have a bit of a bugbear with this. I had to Google how do you fast travel in Greedfall, um, because it wasn't very intuitive. Um, I don't like the fact that even when you don't use fast travel, when you just travel between regions, that time factor still comes into play. And whilst there aren't many time-based missions, there are a couple. Um, One is quite an important side quest, and I was on the opposite side of the map. So that was a real, yeah, it kind of stuffed me there.
And it's like for when we're out in the world, just like give us a horse. Like a horse would make traveling so
Yeah.
much better.
Well,
And it's just because like you have to run from point A to point B, and the running in this game is so very slow, and it's just time wasting.
I think lore-wise, it's because most thing or everything on the island was trying to kill you, because we were going against nature. Because even the natives didn't have a mount, from memory. They didn't have a mounted beast that they rode. Um,
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Yeah.
but yeah, with the amount of graphical issues and clipping, I don't think I would want a mount, to be honest. Yeah, like even The Witcher 3, which is like a masterful game on all fronts. I haven't played it enough to experience it, but I've heard that like your horse is not your friend in The Witcher 3 for traveling.
Oh.
It's yeah, there's lots of problems with Roach. Um,
And moving into the music of this game, I it all just kind of blended
um
together.
no, despite Monsieur de Riviere's resume, I think the amount of time that I spent in game was like it all just blurred into one. I definitely did hear like I feel like there was good compositional knowledge around like different factions and the music that played in like their hubs, for where they were located. Um, but nothing stood out per se. The end game had a pretty good theme. When you have to, and my particular canon ending, because I did all of them, had a really good track to it. But I can talk about that on the side of the spoiler wall. Um,
The track to the last quest was pretty good.
yeah,
Um, that and I can definitely say that the combat music was pretty good as well. But that's really the only music that I can really remember, and that's only because there was so much combat in this game. It was very combat heavy. And that's not to say that the music wasn't good. It just kind of blended so seamlessly that it was almost not there and just more of an ambience thing.
no, and like we have played a lot of RPGs, and I feel like it kind of just fell into that category of, oh, yep, this is a good RPG track. Like, there's nothing wrong with the music, but it's still very much the same. I want to kind of poop on the sound effects a bit.
By all means, go ahead.
The footsteps, oh my god, in the cities, ugh, overly loud for what is meant to be a bustling city. And I don't know if this falls to graphics, but cities didn't feel very populated at all. The only one I'll give big props to is the Theleme city, the church city. I will give that one Saint Anna Maria, blah blah blah, whatever it's called. That one actually felt lived in. The others did not. Um,
And speaking of the cities, I just want to say that while they may not have felt lived in, they were vastly different depending on what faction they were tied to.
mm,
And uh, they were all maze like or whatever. And I just want to say that while they all looked different, I did
Yeah.
notice that all of the manors where the governors of each faction resided were all very much the same. They were
Hmm.
the same layout. You know, you go into the door, you go up the stairs, you turn right, you go through the door, and then there at the back wall, there's a chair with whoever the governor of said faction is. And that's not to say that like they were all very
Yeah.
same graphically, because they were all very different graphically, but they were all like copy pasted basically.
Which I can kind of put the shoe on the other foot there and say, like, when those buildings were probably established, there was only probably one group of builders, so they probably made the layout the same. Um, but I know it comes down to sloppy game design.
And that's not to say it was bad game design. It's just that,
Yeah.
um, like you said, they were all probably created. I mean, in
Yep.
lore for lore reasons, built by the same specifications, but they were all the same, even though they all looked different. And it just
It was very Dragon Age too.
yes, that. Except unlike Dragon Age 2, like they actually put fresh coats of paint
Mm.
on every one of the governor's manses.
Yep. Um, I also want to poo-poo the companion dialogue as you're traversing and in battle. Like you said previously, very repetitive. And yeah, I don't know. Like for the size the game is, they could have done more with it.
Oh, I agree. And something to note on that is that like this game had a whole other language,
Yep.
and I was really looking forward to being able to learn that language because they speak the language in dialogue with you,
Mm-hmm.
and it just would have been a really cool feature to be able to like in Final Fantasy
Yep.
X, um, be able to like find
No.
codexes or something to learn this native language that they're speaking.
Yeah, 100%. I would have loved if it was like the Albed. It's Albed, isn't it, from
Yeah.
Final Fantasy X? Yeah. Like the books, like if you could pick up books and like decipher the language that way, that would have been wicked if they took that route with it.
Yeah. Um, so what did you think of the voice acting?
Um, the voice acting was all right. Um, almost to the point of caricature. Um, like we had Jamie Blackley voicing male Desade, Cassie Layton female Desade, Ben Lloyd Hughes Constantine, Liam Garrigan as Kurt, who I swear I've heard before. So I'm just on IMDb for this because um, like they took actors of relevant nationalities. Siora was Kezia Burrows. Petrus was Stephen Hartley. Afra was Vinita Rishi. And that's like your main cast and party there. Um, a lot of character actors, like they've all done TV and documentary series. These actors haven't really had much experience in video games in the past. Um, Siora and Afra in particular grated on me. Um, Siora felt very overacted and Afra felt very underacted.
Yeah, I wasn't really a fan of Afra that much.
Mm-hmm.
She,
She comes in quite late in terms of party recruitment.
yeah.
Did you run into any? How'd you find a lot of your dialogue going then with Siora there? Because I found particularly in Delame and Bridge Alliance territory that she wasn't very welcome.
Well, because of the colonialism of the game, I knew better than to take her, a native person of this new world, into any of these areas because of who they are.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, but that's all I had for the sound side of stuff.
Touching on the
Yeah.
friendship scale thing. Um, I actually kind of like how they did this because it's not something I'd ever really seen before, and it was just a little bit more than binary like
Mm-hmm.
what you would see in other games. Because you start out with everything and everyone as suspicious,
Yeah.
and then through acting with them and doing quests, you move them up to nice and friendly and anything else after that. But I never got anyone or anything that far.
Yeah, and it does fall into the BioWare trap of make everyone your friend. So you basically have to be a sociopath to kind of get everyone on your side, to get like the best ending. Um, any characters you liked, any characters you disliked? Was I right in my prediction of factions you would or would not like or would not gel with?
Yeah, fuck Teleming. They're the religious ones, and I just don't.
Okay.
Uh, I did enjoy Kurt quite a bit and Siora. Um, Kurt was a bro. I was not expecting a little twist in his side story at all.
Yep.
And then I knew that because this game was about colonialism, I also kept Siora in my party for the majority of the game as well, and I really kind of liked her as a character in general. And she really helped out a lot with some of the things that I did.
Hmm.
Everyone else just kind of fell to the wayside, and I did their side quests as I needed to, as much as I wanted to. And I didn't really use anyone else unless I was specifically going into a faction area and I needed them.
Yep. Okay. And you didn't romance anyone?
No, as I said
No. Okay,
earlier,
cool.
yeah, nobody was really romanceable for me. I liked them
Yeah,
as characters, but I just didn't find any of them romanceable.
because I feel like they really pushed Siora to be like the canon romance for a male Desade. I didn't play a female at all. Um,
Nice.
yeah, I kind of went against the grain there and and romanced the Nort character. Um, yeah, I was very much the same as you. I didn't like the Bridge Alliance and the Leme as factions. Um, but Petrus was probably my favorite companion.
Yeah, Petrus took some warming up from me just because of
Okay.
like what faction he came from. But as I used him a little bit more and more, I did notice about what you said about him reminding you of the Lich character from Dragon
Yeah.
Age.
Yep. Who was my romance option there as well. So
And
yeah.
I can't remember. Oh, Emmerich.
Emmerich, that's it.
Yeah. Um, did you have any powerful dialogue words or
Oh, yep.
whatever? Or any kind of thing that really stood out to you?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had one, and it had to. I briefly touched on it earlier about Kurt and his side quest.
Mm-hmm. I felt it was a really powerful moment, and it's early-ish game, so we can save it for this side. When you first like recruit Siora and her relationship with her sister and her mother, and them being the front runners for their clan. I found that quite a powerful moment when you go searching for Siora's mother and she's dead on the battlefield and having to search through the corpses there was pretty powerful.
Well, I don't think she was dead. Um,
Initially.
Yeah. Cause you come across the battlefield and you go searching for her mother, and then when you finally get to where her body is supposed to
Mm,
be, you find a soldier from one of the factions. I can't remember. I think it was the Bridge Alliance or the Coin Guard or something. I don't remember. But anyway, Siora goes crazy and
yeah,
tries to kill him, and then through dialogue
you can.
or or whatever other means, you get out of him the location to where her mother is being kept, and then when you get there, that's when you find out that her mother is actually dead.
Yeah. I also really disliked killing the Guardians. So I don't know if you ever got around to that. It is side quest based.
I don't remember that.
But for example, in Vasco's side quest to help him prove himself to the Admiral, you need to go kill like a water guardian that's been trashing the Nort ships, bringing in trade to the island. Um, and yeah, that was like I can see the overarching kind of theme that they were going for there. That well, no, it's actually the island fighting back against the colonization, and you're actually having to kill these guardians for your companion's approval or faction approval, and achievements. So it's like, well, how do you actually want to do it? I felt that was really good storytelling and really impactful. It's kind of like, actually, no, I don't want to give spoilers for that game. A game where you have to fight giant monsters that has an overall different meaning throughout the game, if you know which one I'm talking about. PS2 classic.
Oh, Shadow of Colossus.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. And after all that, I have to say I don't think I'll be replaying this again.
Okay.
I just the pros did not outweigh the cons, and having had a very difficult start to
Hmm.
this,
Okay.
I it just really soured the entire experience for me, and and like we touched on earlier, I feel like they threw a lot at you that had to do with the combat, and it was just too much to envelop all at once.
Yep.
And you know, with the dialogue being what the dialogue was, and the voice acting not being all that good all the time, it was an okay game.
Yeah.
um that being said, I do feel like the story was the main hook, and it is honestly what kept me going, because i didn't really I didn't really enjoy a whole lot of any of it. Yeah.
From the gameplay.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was not good for me.
Yeah. I don't think that I would play through this multiple times to do the ending. I definitely feel like saves coming my way through was the way to do it. But that could just be because I played this. This was the fourth time I've played the prologue of this game. So I was like, oh, okay, this will probably be the last time I play through it. So I'll do it the 100% way. But it does offer the variety there. You can choose to side with different people. You can choose to side with no one. You can choose to side with everyone. And I think there's three or four endings, with two main branches.
Yeah, two very, very different endings with a very big choice that you have to make at the very end.
Yeah,
I have the choices somewhere here. I can't find them right now.
yeah, they're in my notes.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, there they are. Got them.
Again, my only criticism is in line with yours that provide an easier way for us to uh, have access to the native speech and language. Because particularly in the back end of the game, the the terms that they start throwing around about your impact and other characters' impacts and what they turn into and who they become, with the native terms, was it bogged me down a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, throughout the entire game, you're called Enol
Native.
Manawi or something like that. And throughout the game, I always wondered what it meant officially, because through context clues and such, I didn't read any of the codexes, so I imagine that reading the codexes might have helped with translating some of these offhanded phrases that the
Hmm.
natives would say um, a bit better. I just didn't do that because I honestly didn't think that codexes were a thing in this game, but I also didn't really look through the menus like I usually do. But it would have helped to actually understand what it is that the natives were actually saying there at the end of the game if you had
Yeah, potentially.
learned their language a little bit more.
I agree with all those points. It is a solid double A Western RPG or RPG. That's not a JRPG, action RPG, but would not play it again.
And I did like, well, there at the end, like because I didn't do anything with the factions, but at the same time when I got to the final quest, I was kind of forced into doing the faction quests, or maybe I wasn't forced, but yeah,
Interesting to hear because yeah, like I said, I have a feeling my canon ending is vastly different from yours. So looking forward to hearing it. I really liked uh Desade's interaction with his mother, or their mother, I should say, sorry, because you can play a male or a female character. Would have liked to have seen more of her. Um,
I don't
but
remember what.
the leaving moment for Tia Fredia um was quite
Oh,
powerful.
yeah, I was sitting here thinking, like,
Mm.
trying to figure out where she was on the island because I'd completely forgot about the intro scene.
No, no. And my Desade's relationship with Constantine, I don't know.
Constantine.
Yeah, without the E on the end, that annoyed me. That annoyed me, the spelling of it. Yeah, the relationship between Desade and Constantine as well was also quite powerful throughout the game.
Yeah, I liked it.
Where he goes from like rescuing him from like he got in a drunken brawl and got like kidnapped for ransom to to where it ends up. Again, the trope of like brotherhood and or siblinghood without being siblings because they're cousins at the outset. Um, yeah,
And and you can really tell that the bond between the two of them was very strong. Just because of the dialogue that happened every time you went back to give Constantine an update on your adventures on the island.
yeah.
It was just nice to see.
So this game, I would say this game is for anybody that enjoys Western RPGs. I think you should at least try this game and see if it's for you. You may come unstuck a bit of the way through, but at least you've given it a red hot go. And I think that as many people as possible should consume Spider's stuff before it potentially becomes delisted.
And my recommendation is for anyone who wants a bastardized Hollywood retelling of colonializing America with a lot more fantasy aspects.
Yeah. Overall, I'm going to give it a fun for our rating system. I think it does go through it. The fact I went through this prologue 3 times can probably attest to that, even though I've only had one full completion. Um, yeah, I think it's got enough there that depending what type of RPG you like to play, like you can minimize combat to the field, I guess, for want of a better word, because there's lots of different ways you can utilize, like you said, science, strength, charisma, to get through the main levels quite easily. And I didn't find my AI companion stupid and dying, like in some RPGs.
I did, but that's beside the point. Um, my rating is not fun simply because,
Mm-hmm.
as I said before, the pros did not outweigh the cons. I had a very rough start, and I feel like it soured my experience. And then once I got going, it was a little too easy once I dropped the difficulty down. And it's just, and I know I've said this before, but like the story really is the only thing that kept me going because I almost dropped this game several times.
Completely fair.
And I'm not going to sit here and say it's a bad game because I don't think it is intrinsically a bad game. I just think it is a bad game for me. And I can only hope that the sequel fixes everything that I did not like about this one.
Don't know. Haven't dived into it yet. Was waiting until we recorded this. Probably start it tonight. Combat is different, I've heard. So that might be a positive, might be a negative. Don't know exactly what combat looks like. Haven't looked at it yet. Want to be surprised. So, if you would be so kind as to follow us on all our social medias, send us a like. We don't have Patreon anymore. However, we do have a donation button. So if you could be so kind as to head over to the link dropped at the bottom of the show notes from today, head on over to Red Circle. Donation amount can be whatever you want. Could be nothing. Fenris and I just appreciate anything that you guys can contribute to keep the show going. You can follow me over on Instagram and every other social media, Blue Sky, which I barely use, as Spectre approved, and I'm also on Infinite Backlog as that. We did have some correspondence, which I will find quickly. Once again from lovely Facebook site RPG Sanctuary, where I also post when we do RPGs. However, I will let Fenris spout where you can find him while I track down the correspondence.
Yeah, so if you like the music at the top and bottom of the episode, you can find all that at nowthenightmare.bandcamp.com. The splash art is from Lazarus. You can find that on Lazarus Art on TikTok and Instagram. I'm Fenris Wolfsbane. You can find me everywhere by that name: Discord, Steam, Epic, EA, GOG, Final Fantasy XIV on Gilgamesh, and I'm also Fenwolf on Xbox.
Cool. So yeah, once again, a big shout out to RPG Sanctuary Facebook site. When I put up stuff about the RPGs that we play, I always get a multitude of correspondence from the lovely people over there. So first up, we've got Jeremiah S., who says, Greedfall is the best effort from Spiders. I love their ideas, but they never have the skill or money to pull off their ambition until Greedfall. Sadly, their follow-up wasn't amazing. The French Revolution robot one, which I believe they're talking about Steel Rising there. Sadly, they were a AA studio going from game to game, barely breaking even, and eventually it caught up. Alan P. says, it was pretty decent for an indie game and probably hit way outside its weight class, but in my opinion, not along of strong role-playing options. Ryan S. says, I love Greedfall, played it a lot, maxed it out. Yeah, Spiders is shutting down. Haven't got into the sequel yet, but I felt it's not as good as the first. So that will be interesting. Mohammed S. said, a good game with mods, but keep in mind it's low budget. Interesting. I'd be curious to know what mods they use there, because I don't feel like any content mods would be kind of needed. Mike M says, I didn't like it much. Combat felt slow and janky. Yeah. Tony C says, I appreciate the anti-colonist message, but it was mediocre and visually ugly overall. Miles M said, it was decent, played through it, had fun, but never had the desire to go back. Erin C says, I thought it was okay, but not very memorable. Nick S says, I liked it up until a game-breaking bug occurred and literally bricked my progression. They patched it months later, but I'd already moved on. Yeah. And finally, Jordan D says, just got to it a few months ago. Liked opening up the map, but the actual quest lines and party members weren't too special. Lack of quality assurance was apparent the longer the game went on. The fake vocabulary for the natives got silly after a while. Oh no, you angered the Fricktermin made me laugh out loud when it was supposed to be serious.
Oh yeah, that's another thing.
Once again,
Oh, sorry. We needed a mini map for this game. The compass only did so much, and with the labyrinthine passages and a lot of the dungeons and cities, like a mini map would have really helped a lot.
yeah. Yeah, I was constantly going back and forth between my map and the main game.
It was just not fun.
But yeah, thank you to everyone that contributes on RPG Sanctuary. You guys can also contribute through Infinite Backlog. So I don't have a track picked out for this one just yet. I'll find something cool. the volcano track is pretty good, so I'll probably use that one. And our next recording, I'm still trying to line up a very special guest. So we're pushing Warhammer back once again. So
is trying to get Kana on?
yeah, trying to work out sometime when all three of our schedules align.
That's fair.
Because she has good internet finally, like myself.
Nice.
And she is just a Warhammer bastion of knowledge. So, so yeah, in our next recording, we'll be covering horror shooter FPS Fear.
Oh, no. Actually, because we had to move this one around, our next recording should be Void Strangers, I believe.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes. So I need to line up Dane.
I'll handle that.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
No problem.
Yes, Void Stranger, not Fear. I'm 2 ahead on games I've played. Sweet. All right, guys, enjoy the music, and we'll see you on the other side to talk about the in-depth plot of Greedfall. Hello, and welcome back to the other side of the spoiler wall for the Spectre-approved episode of Greedfall.
Alright, so jumping into the story, you play as Desarde, the newly appointed legate of the Congregation of Merchants. Your mission is diplomatic, that is to say, you help establish the colony of New Serene, you build alliances with competing factions, and you find a cure for the deadly plague known as Malachor. Before departing, your dying mother gives you a mysterious pendant, and after your cousin Constantine, the new governor of Tirfredi, the pair sail for the island, and before leaving the continent, a strange beast from the island attacks the harbor, hinting at the dangers ahead. When you arrive on Tirfredi, the island is unlike anything that you have seen on the continent. Several factions compete for power: the Congregation of Merchants, the Bridge Alliance, Taleme, the Knots, and all the native clans. And I think there's like 4 or 5 native clans. Desarde meets Siora, a native who notices Desarde shares unusual features with her people. That is to say, the birthmark we touched about previously. The player begins acting as a diplomat, investigator, and peacekeeper between increasingly hostile factions, and every major faction claims that they're researching the Malachor, but none have found a cure. Instead, Desarde uncovers a lot of political corruption, religious extremism, unethical science, and exploitation of the natives because, colonialism. The more the player explores, the more obvious it becomes that the island itself is central to the disease. The natives initially distrust all the settlers, and Desarde earns their respect by stopping illegal slavery of their people, exposing corruption, protecting villages, and helping with some sacred rituals. And along the way, the player learns that the island possesses living magic, and it's very, very druidic in nature. And I thought that was actually kind of cool. There are also giant guardians that protect nature, and everything on Tirfredi is deeply interconnected. There are a lot of ancient ruins that you'll stumble across through the story that reveal that settlers from the congregation visited the island centuries ago, and their first attempt at colonization ended in very big disaster. And the truth was deliberately erased. And even worse, natives were kidnapped, experiments were performed, and the Knots helped conceal the entire affair. And that's where we get to Desarde's biggest secret, which
I might just quickly interject because I'm unsure about the story for Greedfall 2, but I believe it's a prequel, so I'm really hoping it's centered around that because that period of time sounds really interesting.
Okay, yeah. Back to Desarde's. You come up on a really big twist in the game, which is that Desarde isn't actually a noble. They were born on Tirfredi, and their biological mother was a powerful native healer kidnapped years earlier. And the congregation stole the child and raised them as nobility. And suddenly, you find that Desarde belongs to both worlds and neither at the same time. And it's at this point, well, not really at this point. Constantine eventually will fall ill because he contracts Malachor, and his illness worsens rapidly, and the natives, and well, you kind of see it progress through the storyline a little bit because there's moments where you have to go back and just
yeah, he just like, even with your interactions, because you're at the end of every like main faction quest where you go out and introduce yourself and meet all the factions, you go back to Constantine at the end of those to kind of close them out. And like it starts with him just looking tired, but yeah, you can definitely see a decline each time you go back to him. Yeah.
Yeah, and so you eventually at some point go get a very powerful native healer who does a ritual to save his life,
Mm-hmm.
Constantine, and and then at that point everything kind of goes downhill because something changes and he becomes mysteriously connected to the island itself. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then to help him, you have to meet
Yep.
um, Enon Enon Milfrictamen, who is the god, and you have to.
Uh, so Constantine, no, because you need to track down Vimbar, who's the missing chief of the natives, because he's been kidnapped. Constantine gets kidnapped by Vinbar, and then after that, yeah, he's cured.
Yeah, and then he's cured, and you have to go do the High King stuff because you have to find Constantine and and save him from the current High
Mm-hmm.
King who hasn't been seen, and in doing so you kill the High King, and then
Yep.
you have to elect another one. So you run around and do that, and then once you do that, because only the High King can summon an on-mill Frictamen. So, although before electing the new High King and before choosing the natives healer to heal Constantine, you do have a choice of whether or not you want to take him to a native healer, to Lame to deal with, I guess, uh, let religion handle it, or go to the scholars and see if the scholars can help him with like a potion or something. And I went natives.
Hmm. I went natives.
But yeah, once you save Constantine from the High King, the near-death experience really changes him. And instead of accepting his limits, he begins secretly linking himself to the island's magical power and believes that he alone can create a better world. And he slowly descends into this mad obsession. And ultimately, he decides to replace the island's god. And so Desarde gathers every ally that they've earned throughout the game, and depending on player
Hmm.
choices, factions may unite, or companions may survive, and old enemies may fight together. Constantine reaches the heart of the island
Mm-hmm.
and attempts to seize the divine power, but Desarde confronts their cousin one final time, and here is where you have that final choice.
Correct. Yep.
And those choices are you can either kill Constantine to preserve the natural balance, and the future depends on which native ruler you supported, and cooperation can eventually cure the Malachor, or your poor political choices can doom both the island and the continent.
Mm-hmm.
And you could also join Constantine to become living gods. Most of your allies die, civilization collapses, and nature and humanity enter a new age ruled by the cousins. And the Malachor continues spreading across the world.
Yep.
So, what did you end up choosing for your final choice?
I linked with him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And walk
Yep.
me through what kind of ending that
Um.
is.
Well, both of you terrorize the island and spread chaos. But because I had good relationships with the factions, it kind of your companions still turn against you. Although it's with like regret rather than hate that they turn against you. Um, like Ciora dies in battle, Vasco runs away. That might have been because I romanced him also, and he flees on a ship, but ends up crashing and sinking. I might just step back briefly because what was your outcome with the coin guard
Um,
and your favorite companion?
yeah. I don't remember a whole lot of that story. But
Okay. Um, I guess my main question is: did Kurt remain on your side, or did he?
oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, at some point in the story, the coin guard try to attempt a coup where they station a lot
Hmm.
of people and the heads like the governor's mansions like close to the leaders of all the factions, and they plan on killing all of them in one fell swoop to take over Tier 3D. and
Yep.
um and Kurt, because he grew up with you, and if you have his, friendship high enough, like he'll either betray you or he won't. And he ended up warning myself and Constantine that it was going down, and
Yeah.
we managed to save everyone.
Yeah. Cool. Um, I just want to talk about Petrus real quick because it turns out he actually has a long history with Desade if you get up to his final companion quest.
Oh yeah.
Did you manage to complete that or?
I don't know if I completed it, but I got as far as what you're talking about. And basically, he was there when you were born, and you're he was basically there with your mother.
Yep. Yeah, that's correct. So basically, your mother was dying. She was labeled as I think it's a Donegeek, whatever the Islander term is there. So Petrus took yourself and the necklace, and placed you in the Desade family for safekeeping. So I thought that was a very well-rounded revelation when it got to it. And you end up meeting your aunt, and he helps reconnect you back in with the Islanders.
Yeah, that is the quest that I started,
Okay.
but I never actually finished it because I didn't really care to.
Yeah. Yep. And that's kind of one of the things that makes him one of my favorite characters is even though he's the legate of Theleme and very connected with his faith and the church and all that, he was able to keep that secret for many, many years and stay loyal to the island and yourself. And I think that just, yeah, such a good character arc for him, um, to basically go, well, he doesn't rail against the church, but it's like he knows where his priorities are. So I think he was the best kind of companion you could have got from the Leme, instead of like a full church dude looking at you, Sebastian, Dragon Age 2.
Yeah, Sebastian was not a good
Yeah, we'll
character.
get there.
He was a strong character, and I chose him and used him because he was an archer, but I hated who he was
His personality. Yeah.
very much. His not good at all. But the way they did Petrus was really nice because uh, you didn't know who he was
Mm.
when you first meet
And
him.
he does not let on at all when you first meet him.
No, no, not at all.
Like, I think they'd met like when you were an adolescent as well. Like he'd been keeping tabs on your life. But yeah.
Yeah, and he was always there because he took you away from your mom
Mm.
after she died. And but yeah, like I really came to enjoy Petrus and his, pardon the pun, his fatherly ways. He seemed like an old and wise character.
Yeah. Well, again, I was following a guide, so companions were pretty much maxed out as soon as they could be. Um, I'm just scrolling through the companion quest now. I never had anyone leave my party or really be negative toward me until I decided to throw a spanner in the works for the ending. Do you have any final thoughts about the game that you wanted to share?
Um, no, not really. It was a decent game. I really enjoyed the story, but everything else just wasn't really for me.
Hmm.
Uh, Outside of that, I mean, it was like you said, it was a solid double A RPG.
Yeah, 100%. Very interesting to see where they take number two.
Oh yeah.
And I'm kind of interested to go back to Technomancer to see what happened, like where their kind of thoughts are at prior to releasing Greedfall.
Yeah, I think I've got that one.
It's very cheap. It's like $4 everywhere.
Yeah.
I've got it on Steam or GOG. It was banned in Australia for a while.
Oh really?
Don't know why, but it was before we had the R18 rating.
Ah, gotcha.
And I also have Steel Rising, which is their Souls-like. But yeah, go check out Spider's stuff if you like RPGs. I guess that's my only final thought. Do you have anything you want to shout out, anime or game-wise, that you've been playing that's pretty cool, seeing as we don't have Patreon?
No, I've pretty much just been playing this. My husband just recently bought me that new game, People of Note,
Okay.
and I was thinking about giving that one a go.
I have not heard of that.
It's like a rhythm turn-based RPG. It's supposed to be really fun and really punny, so it seems like it's right up my alley.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I haven't been playing too much. I've been playing Cuphead. It's hard. Platform shooter. It's a lot of fun though. And the graphical style is just amazing. But yeah, that's all I've really been pumping time into. And I'm going to start Greedfall 2 quite soon. There's a new anime season or series. Yeah, anime season coming out. I think this week it starts. There's not too much that I'm hyped for. I'll probably watch Jobless Reincarnation, and that's about it.
Yeah, I've been meaning to give this new website a shot and get onto something.
Cool beans. Well, thank you once again for listening, everyone. We will be signing off here. This has been Spectre Approved. I am Adam.
And I'm Fenris.
And happy gaming.
Bye.